I've been an entrepreneur for more than 40 years, and I've learned many important lessons in that time. Perhaps the most important one I have ever learned is knowing when and how to say no. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because it's a difficult subject. Most of us don't like displeasing people, and when somebody asks us to do something, saying no generally annoys them. I'm going to tell you some experiences from my life as examples for you, because you're going to run into things like them or like enough for them that you might figure something out. Your time, your mindset, and that of your company and your employees is limited. Every time you agree to do something, and in fact, every time you say yes, you are cutting out other alternatives, and you must be aware of that and must be aware of what alternative you're cutting out. Now, there are times in which you say no and you don't know any alternative at all. I'll give you one example of that from my own life. We once were being financed. Our financiers wanted a small financing. We wanted a full financing, and we told them no, and they went away, and we didn't know where the money was going to come from, but we went out and found it. That was probably the worst episode of me saying no to someone in my life, because it cut off a sure thing for something very doubtful, but something we believed was right. And that's the primary lesson you should learn here. Think it through, make your decision, say no to this and yes to that, and then go on. Live with those consequences. In life, as well as in business, boundaries are very important, primarily because your time and mindset is limited. Everyone who deals with you as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a person who runs a business, is trying to get something from you. It may be what you want to give them, but they're still trying to get something from you. Understanding what it is you need out of this interaction is far more important than understanding what they need out of this interaction if you're going to have a successful company. There are customers that you don't want. The old proverbial, they do 20% of the business and cause 80% of the trouble. If you can possibly get rid of them, do so. If there is a lawyer that's causing you more trouble than gain, get rid of him or her. Do not fall into the mistake of having to please people. That's not your job. Your job is to produce something people want to buy, and that's your judgment, not theirs. One of the things I hate most in entrepreneurship, in business, in life for that matter, is vagueness. People who don't say what they mean, or people who don't know what they mean, and you wind up with a, well, maybe this will happen, maybe this will not. Think about that when you're saying no. If you say it half-heartedly, the other person won't hear it. They'll hear, well, maybe he's going to get around to it, or maybe he's thinking about it, or whatever. Be clear. If you're not going to do something, make sure that everyone involved knows you're not going to do it, and what the alternatives are. Indefinite behavior is a waste of your time, and it's a waste of everybody else's time. Be definite, be precise, be polite, but when you say no, mean it. One of the things that I have done on occasion over my long career is make a customer establish why I should let them be my customer. Now that sounds peculiar, but really it is not. Are you actually going to provide what they need? Are they in the position to pay you for what you're going to do for them? And do they understand how what they want fits in with what you're doing as a company? And you will find many can't explain that to you, but some can, and they will always turn out to be your absolute best customers. That doesn't mean you have to spend a lot of time doing this, and you don't do that with every customer, but it's instructive to do it now and again, because it makes you think about, why am I doing this? I'm not doing this to please them. I'm doing this to please me, but the way I please me is I produce a successful company that is shown to be successful because it pleases them and they hand me a paycheck. I want to share with you something that I've been working on for a long time that is very important to me, and that is a Discord channel for business. On it, there will be a lot of free information but also access to me. So you can have the ability to ask me questions, and I can respond to your particular problems and difficulties, and also help you get started. I'm really looking forward to being able to interact with you individually on there. I look forward to seeing everybody on there, and I will be waiting for you. Now, let's get back to our video. You must learn to say no, not just to customers that are trying to grab your time, but your partners, your associates, your board. You have to learn to be able to say no to them and explain why you're saying no to them. I remember getting into a discussion with the chairman of our board, and that it wanted me to hire this particular person. And I said, no. Well, he's really good and he's got this long set of credentials, and besides, he's my nephew. No, I'm not going to hire him because he's not appropriate for our company. Now, you can always remove me, but as long as I'm in this position, I'm not hiring him. And he accepted that. You have to learn to stand up and do that. I remember having another board member, wonderful person, one of my favorite people ever, but did not have a lot of experience in small companies. And I told her so to her face. I said, you're wrong on this. If we do that, here's what will happen. And you don't have the experience working in a big company all your life to know that. And she, to her credit, in the one place where I had a lot more experience than her, gave me the respect. And we did what I wanted, and I was right. And she said so. She admitted it afterwards, that I had been right and she had been wrong. That's a good relationship. It didn't spoil our relationship at all. If anything, it probably strengthened our relationship. I have said no to partners. Partners often want to do things that are off course, or what you believe are off course for the company. It's wise to be willing to talk to them and have an open relationship with them where you can talk to them about whether this is a good idea for the company. Now, I'm not talking about where someone wants to do something illegal. That you put your foot down, you stand up and scream and say no. And you don't budge and you don't discuss it and you just don't do it. And I've had to do that too. I'm talking about the case where there's simply a disagreement. Both sides are likely to be at least partly right, but one direction has to be chosen. Present your case and be willing to say, I don't agree with you, but also be willing to be persuaded. Don't stand doctrinaire, but don't be a milksap either. Farmers learn very early on that when you're growing a crop, you must do two things. You must fertilize it and water it to make sure it has all the fuel that it needs, but you have to prune it. You have to remove the excess. You have to, for a fruit tree, you have to cut branches off that aren't producing anything. The same thing is absolutely true in business. There are lots of good ideas that are getting in the way of your great ideas. There's lots of good prospects that are getting in the way of your great prospects. There are plenty of, well, maybe I'll do something, maybe I won't do something customers who are getting in the way of you selling to those who are ready to buy. You need to do the pruning. Cut off the branches that are not bringing you success and pursue the branches that are giving you income, work, and clarity on what the company's goals should be. There's a long joke about KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And there's a reason that that's a truism, because it's true. In business, if something is difficult to understand as to why you're doing something, or what you're planning to do, or what you need to do with your product, or the customer needs to do with your product, you're doing something wrong. As someone, I think it was Einstein, said, if you can't explain a physical theory to your grandmother in a way that she can understand it, you don't understand it yourself. And the same thing is true with customer prospects, with contracts, with product definitions, and all of those things. It is important that you understand them, and understanding requires simplicity. And it means that you can't do 50 things at once, because you can't keep 50 things straight in your head, no matter how gifted you are. Pick the ones that are most rewarding, that do the best towards the goals of the company, and pursue them. There's plenty of time to do the secondary ones later, though I guarantee you, you'll probably never get to them. The ability to say no and the execution of the strategy of saying no builds respect. It builds respect with the customers that you say, no, I can't do this, I can do that. It builds respect with your employees who want to do something and you say that doesn't fit in the line of the company business, but maybe we could do this. It builds respect with your financiers and your board. No, we're not going to pursue that new strategy. This one is about to pay off and we're going to follow it. All of those things require you saying no. And if you're dealing with people who are competent, they will realize the importance of that. One of the surest signs that you're dealing with someone who is just in it for himself, and I'm talking primarily about people in your company, is when they just cannot be convinced of something that's obviously out of sync with what the company should be doing. I faced that many times. Sometimes I've had to fire the person. Learn to say no. Be as polite as possible, but be firm when you have to be. Clients will ask you something that comes to the top of their mind just in passing. They don't want to produce clarity usually, but they want you to produce clarity. And the surest way you produce clarity is you limit the number of things you're promising them or saying you're going to do for them or willing to put into a contract for them. A good client, like a good employee, like a good board member, will understand when you limit your courses of action to the things that make the most sense. Every client I have ever dealt with had a wish list. It's not your job to fulfill that wish list. It's your job to sell them the product you're making. If you want to be successful, do a few things and do them very, very well. Don't try to do too many things. That way lies burnout. Burnout is not a sign of too much work. Burnout is a sign of too many things on your pad. Learn to say no. Learn to strike things off and strike them off early so you don't spend a lot of time worrying about them. Learn to say no, learn to order the workload that you have, learn to make it consistent with what your goals are, and put the other things out of your mind. Maybe set aside a time once a week or once a month for a brainstorming session with your partners. That's a wonderful idea. But don't spend the rest of your time thinking about maybes. Like every entrepreneur, I want to chase shiny objects. I want to listen to the dreams of one of my customers who maybe someday will buy something from me. I'm just as subject to that as everybody else is. I just have 40 years of experience to tell me and to tell you that that's not a really good idea. Learn to be ordered in your thinking, learn to be ordered in your work, and learn to keep your word when you say yes or when you say no. Thank you, and if you like this, I would ask you to please subscribe, and we'll see you next time.